Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley, and every week we bring you the stories of people who are improving the lives of others locally, globally, and digitally. We're part of Rotary International, 1.2 million people in 36,000 clubs around the world, all dedicated to improving the lives of others through what we call service above self. It is that joy and meaning that comes from helping others in tapping your own talents and time and treasure and figuring out how to do these things in really interesting ways. Our club has a special interest in education, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And one essential element to a lot of really, really great service projects is that it's built around a fascinating, innovative sustainability. So this is the kind of thing that we're going to be finding out about as we talk to Soubhik, who's going to talk to us about resumes and the job market and what that intersection with AI, and then we'll jump into some questions. Soubhik Dawn, it is a pleasure to have you in our club, and we welcome you to speak to the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley.
Thank you, Rushton. Welcome, everyone. I'm Soubhik Dawn, founder of Apply. And today I'll talk about a topic that's top of mind for many of you, and that's the job market. The fact is that we are currently living through one of the worst job markets in history for white-collar professionals, where getting an interview itself is like an achievement. Now, there are many factors which are causing this. One of which is that your resume might not be reaching a human being. Now, before we dive into why and how we got here, I'd like us to take a step back and look at our life every day. Everything that we do, starting from what we watch for entertainment, what we buy, what we eat, what we read on the internet or social media, we have happily delegated our initial decision making to an algorithm. If that's the case with us, my question is, why should we expect any different from employers? Now, I want to share a personal story that led to the genesis of this talk. A few years ago, when I was applying for a job myself, using LinkedIn heavily, like a lot of us do, I remember receiving a rejection email from this job. Now, that's not unusual. Rejections are part of the game. But what's unusual is that a few days after I received the rejection email, I got an in-mail from a recruiter, not a third-party recruiter, but from the same company that rejected me, saying that I would be a great fit for the same role I was rejected for. And I was mind blown. And that made me realize that there's something broken about the system, where on one side, there's an algorithm that thinks that I'm not a good fit, but on the other side, there's a human who clearly thinks that I do. And that is one of the reasons I eventually started Apply. Now let's talk about the hiring crisis today and what's causing it. Years of efficiency, headcount trimming has left the recruiting team really lean. Today, an average recruiter is handling 50% more open positions than they were doing before. And add to that, there's an oversupply of qualified candidates in the market and an abundance of black box AI tools that enable unqualified candidates to mass apply to any and every job. That's causing recruiters to see 3x more volume of applicants per job. In fact, the situation is so dire that an average job receives over 100 applications within the first couple of hours of going live. It is almost impossible for recruiters to manually go through each and every application. As a result, more and more employers are using some form of automation for ranking and screening resumes. So, what does this mean for the overall hiring experience, right? For employers, because of their automation in place, they are rejecting almost 80% of resumes even before they're hitting a human, right? And when those resumes do, the 20% that do reach a human recruiter, because they're so short on time, they spend on an average 3 to 7 seconds before deciding whether that candidate deserves a deeper look. So, as a result, for candidates, the job today is tougher than ever. They have to impress two gatekeepers, both generalists, and both have unique ways of screening, right? The machine or the ATS app or applicant tracking system and the human recruiter, right? And this makes them 3x less likely to hear back today than they were before. As a result, the average job search today is taking over 6 months with candidates sending out over 100 applications. So, what can candidates do? When cold applying to jobs, any resume coach or recruiter will advise candidates to tailor their application to that job. And that means tailoring for both the audiences. For the machine or the ATS, it means you need to use the exact job keywords in your resume and use the right formatting that a machine can read. And for humans, you need to highlight the required skills and achievements as quickly in your resume as possible so that the recruiter gets to see it before they decide whether to pass you or not. Now, this sounds great in theory, but it takes about 40 to 60 minutes to tailor your application to each role. So, if you were to do this for 100 jobs, then applying to a job would become a full-time job on its own. And as a candidate, that is overwhelming. But the good news is that with the advances in AI and AI resume and cover letter optimization tools like Apply, you can do all of these in just a matter of seconds. And today I'm going to show you a quick demo of how that works. So this is the home screen of Apply. Apply requires two inputs. One is your background or your resume. In this case, I've already uploaded a resume, so my background is checked. The other thing it needs is a job description. So I'm going to go to my favorite job board, LinkedIn. I'm going to go look for a job. I'm going to copy the job URL and paste it here. So just for some context, the profile is for a senior product manager, and the job that we are interested in is a senior product manager role. Apply read the job, right? Now, the first thing to do is to score the resume against this job. And Apply will evaluate how good a fit you are, right? In terms of both the audiences that will be screening your resume, the ATS and the human being. So in this case, it doesn't seem like the person. So we are looking at the score. So ATS selection chances are medium, which means there's a decent chance ATS would be rejecting it. Recruiter selection chances are also pretty low, which means the candidate doesn't meet all the job requirements. Let's actually take a look at a different role, maybe. So we'll go and do the same. Okay, let's score it. And the idea is that for a candidate to first evaluate whether they're a good fit. And then if they are a good fit, see that, okay, so in this case, it seems like, they are a good fit for both ATS and recruiter, right? And they can still get like some boost from tailoring their resume. So let's just go through the process and let's hit tailor the resume. And while Apply is tailoring in the background, let's take a look at how Apply is evaluating the resume, right? So first for the ATS, it breaks down the resume into or the scoring into two components. One is the readability, right? The resume needs to be readable by a machine, right? And that involves not having complex formatting like tables, not using headers, footers where information cannot be read by a machine, right? And the next piece is having the right keywords from the job description, right? And in this case, the resume has scored pretty well, but let's take a look, right? And when we look at the keywords, Apply shows all the keywords that an ATS would be looking for and highlights the ones which are already present, and the ones which are not are still grayed up. And then let's take a look at the recruiter scoring, right? So Apply breaks down the job requirements by work experience, hard skills, soft skills, if there are educational qualification requirements, other requirements, and scores the resume on each of those dimensions. And it also shows a detailed list of all the job requirements and checks off which ones the candidate meets and which ones they don't, right? In this case, there's like some one high priority requirement they don't meet. And then for nice to have, there's like something else that's low impact that the candidate doesn't meet. Now, overall, the score is pretty good, right? The candidate feels confident for applying, so they go ahead and tailor the resume. Now let's take a look at the resume that Apply just tailored, right? So the first thing to note here is that Apply shows the before and after ATS keyword score, right? Previously, keyword score was 76, which was high, but after tailoring, it's even better. It's 94. And Apply shows the new keywords it was able to automatically insert into the resume. The way it does is it does by inferring your experience, right? And matching that to the keywords in the job description, either as synonyms, acronyms, similar words, right? To make sure that the exact keywords are there. And it also increases the existing matching keywords that you already had in your resume, right? Now, one of the things about Apply that is different from ChatGPT or any other AI tool out there is that Apply doesn't just make a change in your resume. We focus on transparency, and Apply will highlight, what it changes, where it changes, and why it changes. Something that you will not get elsewhere. So you'll see these pink and blue comment icons sprinkled throughout the resume. Let's actually click on one of them. So this is the summary section, right? Here, Apply highlights the lines it removed, the lines it added, why it added it, gives a bunch of reasons, right? Why it changed, what changes it made. And even after this, if you feel like, no, I do not like these changes, all you need to do is a simple click to revert it back to what it originally was, right? And the thing to keep in mind is that Apply makes all these changes not for one audience, the ATS, it also makes it for the recruiter, right? So it tries to sprinkle in resume writing best practices into the resume, right? So one of the things about resume writing is that you don't just list your experience bullets. It's like, oh, these are all the things I've done. But you show your impact, right? And you show impact through quantifying the outcomes you've had. So in this case, you'll see like Apply basically highlights like some metrics it has added, right? Some 50% in the first year, right? I'm not reading through the entire bullet, but Apply doesn't know like the exact impact you had, right? But it knows the best practices. So it suggests that you should be having a metric there, right? And it highlights that metric. So you can go ahead and edit the metric to the right metric that is appropriate in your case, or sometimes it's not quantifiable, so you can just leave it without a metric. But that's the level of transparency Apply brings in, right? Now, it not only changes like content, it also reorganizes them, right? So let's look at like one of these comments. You'll see that Apply has basically changed the resume ordering right? Added a brand statement at the top. This one is the brand statement, senior product leader, blah, 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 right? And then it's relocated the education to the bottom, right? Again, this is so this is best practices. It cites the source, right? But again, it's about bringing the most relevant information for an experienced candidate to the front, less relevant to the back because recruiters have very short time span, right? Um, in addition to these changes, Apply will also show some recommendations, right? So the blue icons are typically recommendations. And here, for instance, this candidate is an older candidate, and Apply recommends that they hide their graduation dates because they're applying to a tech job, right? And the tech industry, especially for startups, they are known for some age-related discrimination. So in order to minimize potential bias, Apply recommends you hide your graduation date, and you can do that simply at the click of a button or ignore it.
Okay.
One other quick thing I wanted to show is that every change that you make in Apply, it packs in like a full-fledged resume editor. So you could like make a change and then quickly recalculate your score real time, and Apply will show that to you, right? So it helps a candidate get like the best possible outcome when they're applying to Apply. One of our other features is that everything that I showed you is also available on mobile. And this is very important for a lot of our users because they don't have access to a desktop. And we empower users to have a very professional resume that can earn them a job even if they don't have access to a desktop, right? So in conclusion, I'd like to talk about our goal is to create a very equitable hiring process where every qualified candidate gets a chance to make their case in front of a human reviewer. And on the on the other end, employers are not spammed by unqualified candidates, leading to a win-win hiring process for everyone.
Absolutely. All right. The first thing that I think we'll do is if you'll stop sharing your screen,
Yes.
I'll introduce the group that we've got here at the moment. So from our club, we have in Vancouver, Nick. I am in the San Francisco Bay Area, specifically San Jose. Longtime friend of the club, Victoria Griesmuller in Budapest, Hungary. And from the Phoenix area, Josh McCoy. Good to have you joining us, Josh. So, Shobik, there's a lot of questions that we're going to be tossing your way on this front, and I want to start with your question or your initial statement that this is one of the worst job markets in history. So you talk about like the volume and everything. Where does that data come from?
It's coming like, through research and through interactions with users of the platform, right? So, like there's a research I've published where we've looked at like the volume of candidates average recruiters were handling even 3 years ago versus now, right? All the news that we've been hearing about layoffs, right? So layoffs have not just been impacting people like who work in like tech roles, but it's also impacting like people who hire people in tech, right? So recruiters have been like being thinned down. Speaking to recruiters, like because we've been reaching out for their feedback, they've been sharing their firsthand, like personal experience and speaking to job seekers because a lot of Apply users have been in the job market for a long time. So getting their firsthand inputs, right? Through Reddit discussions. So basically, this data is coming through our research from both, online content and direct personal interactions with users and recruiters.
Okay. Victoria asks about the pricing for the system. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because as I
Yeah.
looked at it, I was immediately intrigued at how you've built it, but we'll build on that. So how does
Yeah.
pricing work for Apply?
Now, that's an excellent question, Victoria. We are like the most like we offer the most generous free tier, and the main reason for it is we want to keep it as affordable as possible for job seekers. So to explain what I mean by the most generous free tier, anyone who signs up for Apply can score their resume for free for up to 200 jobs any given month to evaluate whether they're a good fit, how their resume would perform against an ATS recruiter, whatever, right? And on top of that, you can go ahead and create three tailored versions of your resume for three different jobs absolutely free. Now, if you want to use the platform beyond that, you want to tailor more resumes, there's no subscription, unlike any other platform. You don't have to worry about a recurring fee. You pay per use, which means if you know you're going to apply to 5 jobs, you just buy 5 additional tailored resumes, and that's how you use Apply.
Looking at your page, it looks like that's like a one-time $5 that may be geographically specific. However, what it certainly is something that's clearly within reach of a lot of people. So I mean that sounds like you're working, especially with the kinds of things that you offer through the free tier, that you're working on establishing volume quickly. Is that working well for you?
It is not yet, right? So
Okay.
distribution is a major challenge. And so if you think about like any consumer product or any product out there, right? Like how do you get your word out across to like more people, right? And most brands, what they need to do is they need to advertise. That's the way to get the word out, right? But because Apply is free for most like users, right? And even beyond that, the dollar per customer is so low that our lifetime customer value does not justify the customer acquisition costs through traditional social media and other paid media channels, right? So we cannot really advertise to get our word out, right? So, like the way we are trying to do is trying to reach out through not-profit organizations and other organizations where most people will benefit from the free tier anyway, but then the word gets out and people who need beyond the free tier can come and use the platform. The unfortunate uh, like circumstance or like the state of affairs is that the products which people find out online are typically the worst products out there, which are there to bait and switch users through like, oh, this is free, but then the moment someone comes in, invests time, they will ask for money before they can do it, and they can advertise because they make money through these nefarious practices that they have. And most of the users on the Apply platform have, prior to using Apply, have tried out these tools and have been so dissatisfied with it. But again, like it was a long-winded answer to your question. It's like biggest challenge is distribution. We are, gradually growing. Most of our growth is organic through word of mouth from users who love the product and are sharing it with others.
In in having people use the product and start, more and more and more becoming successful with finding jobs, do you find that there are particular sectors of the job market that you're having particular success in, or at least particular traction with?
Yeah. So one sector where it's not helping much is new grads. Uh, And it's not just like Apply is not helping much. The new grad market is the worst hit market today, right? Like hiring is down. Like no employer wants to hire someone and have to train them because there's already an oversupply of qualified candidates in the market. What the candidates who apply or whom Apply is helping and they are benefiting are people with 10 to 25 years of work experience, people who are transitioning like industries or kind of roles, essentially where there's a lot of content and from one's experience that needs to be presented. Apply does an excellent job in presenting that to for the right audience. because most of us always like struggle with prioritization. I have done like so many things. To me, every little thing is important, right? But to the reader, that's not, right? So those candidates are benefiting significantly from Apply because Apply knows what to prioritize, how to prioritize, and present it in the right way. And they are the ones, that's the sector which we are seeing most benefit from. And let me just qualify that further. Excluding the technical or engineering positions, right? So uh, thing with engineering roles, not engineering manager positions, but like individual contributor engineers and software developers, is that most of the requirements are very clinical in nature in terms of have you used this technology, XYZ, right? So those things are easier to express, right? When it comes to softer skills like business process optimization or improving like some other stuff, that's when like words play a lot more importance. And that's where a tool like Apply can actually help.
Okay. Victoria asks about the kind of business to business collaboration. Are you working with any particular uh, system that's out there, perhaps LinkedIn, or are you, or at the very least, checking kind of how your your system works with people who are on LinkedIn trying to do certain things?
Yeah, trying to is the only thing I can say, right? But we are too small, and they're not interested in talking to anyone that small. Like, in fact, even with LinkedIn, they don't even give access to the APIs that can help us like automatically get the candidate's background instead of them having to upload a resume, right? So they're not like no one wants to play with us, right? Like Indeed, right? Like they won't even give us access to copying the job directly from their board, right? So right now, no, right? Like the short answer is no. But we've still tried to build the experience to make it as seamless as possible. So you can still use a different job board and use Apply um, and save a bunch of time. And that's kind of the current state. Eventually, as we grow, I am hopeful that more of these platforms would be more willing to integrate with us to create a more seamless experience for our users.
Yeah, Nick notes in the chat that systems that are out there are very much working to keep things within their own
Yeah.
ecosystems, and understandably.
Yeah.
But it seems like you've actually taken a good shot at dealing with that by giving people these substantial options within the free tier, so that they've got a chance to really check out your system and really think about it. And even if they're new grads and not like the 10 to 25 year veterans, they've got that chance to really use the tools in
Yep.
productive ways. Is that the kind of feedback you're getting from people?
Yes, yes. And like I'm also partnering with some schools giving their new grads an even more generous free tier so they can like, go and use the platforms. And the feedback I'm typically getting from people, I'm not just counting new grads, is that it's again anecdata. It's like 6x their interview rates than before, right? So they're like it's a noticeable difference that they're seeing when they are following our best practices, applying to roles they're a good fit for. They're seeing 6 times more responses than they were before.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we're kind of at that point where we're going to start winding things down. I'll hand it back to you for the final word in a minute. But for everyone listening, we who are on the recording itself have the added advantage with all of our recordings of getting to continue to talk to these interesting people that we connect with. You may also be interested in learning more about Apply. The links, there are several links that are on the pages where you might find this, whether that's our SiliconValleyRotary.com page, more easily accessed at Rotary.cool, or on our YouTube channel or on our podcast channels. And you can learn more about Apply. UPPL.ai will get you to them as well. We appreciate that you take your time. We hope that the kinds of things you learn in our recordings are things that you'll share with others, that they might be helpful or inspiring in their way of seeing how the world can become a better place through innovative thinking. We think that that's important. And if you are curious to learn more about what we do, Find out at rotary.cool. We'd love to be able to talk to you. Shobik, as we always do, we hand it back to our speaker for the final word. What would you like to pass along to those who are watching this video or listening to the podcast?
Thank you, Rushton. I want you to leave today's meeting uh, by knowing that Apply is trying to make the hiring process better for everyone, from the job seeker to the employer. And we are bringing in AI in the most transparent way as possible. And our mission is to help as many people as we can. So if you know nonprofits or anyone that needs help with resumes for themselves or for their community that they serve, please do reach out to me at shobik@uppl.ai. And I'm wishing everyone the very best and looking forward to a bright future for all of us.
Well said, and everyone, we will see you next week.